Strange sightings of a huge flying creature. Ken Scott first brought you the report this summer.
Now, more sightings have surfaced and prompted an investigation. Is it a monster or myth?
Joe Cogger has the story.
Even though it was dark, the thing itself was black. I mean, it was the blackest I've ever seen.
Frank Ramirez thought he was after a prowler in the back of his mom's Southwest Side home.
That's when the thing that was up there turned to me, and it was in a perched state, and it looked at me, and then it started to turn.
What greeted him on the garage rooftop still gives him goosebumps years later.
It started to move its arms, and this giant blackness was just coming out, and it was just, at that point, I dropped the stick, and I ran.
Ramirez felt compelled to sketch the large bird-like creature, the images disturbing.
If you were to take a man's face and just pull his chin down, it's just like a stretched face.
And similar to dozens of sightings across San Antonio and South Texas.
If you don't get a blanket and you're straightening out a blanket, that's the kind of noise that it was making. And it was just, I was just terrified because I thought that while I was running, that this thing was just going to carry me off.
Maybe you haven't seen it flying overhead, but our story of a large, prehistoric-like bird was seen, getting more than 100,000 visitors on the internet from folks across the world. And more than a few in San Antonio, like Ramirez, came forward to say they've seen the creature too. This woman telling us by email, because of our story, she now knows she's not crazy.
When investigating mystery animals, it's important to point out that there are very vast areas of land, even here in South Texas, that remain uninhabited.
And possibly home to the creature. Cryptozoologist Tim Gerhardt wrote the book on the large dark birds, many of them compared to small aircraft. We caught up with Gerhardt at the Laguna Atascosa National Wildlife Refuge.
If an animal like Big Bird does exist, it certainly needs some habitat, somewhere to hide.
The refuge is 88,000 acres big.
Raptors of all kinds, from hawks to falcons, come throughout.
Park rangers say the marshes and prairies are home to 413 species of birds, but no flying pterodactyls.
So you don't think there's any big, huge creature out here that size?
No, I don't.
But even rangers admit internet blogs spiked with reports this summer of something huge.
People were posting about a very large, raptor-like bird, and they were talking about 18 to 20 foot wingspan. And in all reality, it's kind of a myth.
Critics say, where's the proof? Eyewitness testimony without a feather or other body of evidence leaves these stories as they are, just stories.
We know it's rare, and we know that this area has been a popular hangout in the past.
So Gerhardt is installing cameras in Harlingen, Texas, where Guadalupe Cantu wants his big bird sighting documented and validated.
Then we called them angels. In 50 years we will call them something else. He showed the image of the lamb, which was the first image resembling an alien being. This is genies. In Islam we call them genies. Jinns.
But by any other name, what are we talking about? We're talking about spirits. We're talking about a demon is nothing other than a spirit being, a being, who is perhaps not incorporated in the material world.
No, it can incorporate. The thing is that there is a certain degree of misconception. Okay, let me tell you exactly what are these UFOs. UFO unidentified beings, okay, or objects that fly around. Either they are military stealth operations, which can't be disclosed, or either they are operations regarding the evocation of genies, coming from other dimensions. So, an interdimensional door is created, is opened up. Where can these interdimensional doors can be opened up? In certain spaces, certain places, certain holy ground from ancient times known to possess that's possibility.
For example,
purpose. For example,
in Iraq. For example.
Just go to Mount Graham and study a bit what the Jesuits are doing up there. There is a war between the American natives, Indians, and the Jesuits since the Jesuits have tried to build this observatory. And why is that? Because the Indians have used that mountain as holy ground for thousands of years, and there is a specific entity living on top of that mountain, but on another dimension. When he wants, he can be called upon this dimension and evoked. The Jesuits, what they want to do. In the meantime, they accuse the American Indians, oh, these are pagans, what are they doing to us? So we have to do science, observe the stars. Oh, rubbish. What they're doing, to evoke these entities in a specific time frame, and this has to be carefully calculated. What is magic? The magic is the calculation of the arts with peculiar calculations around the symbols to evoke certain entities and have from them, if you want, certain gratifications. You can work with them. I, for example, can tell you a story which is a family story from a relative of my wife actually, who I think his uncle or his grand uncle, whatever, who started working with these entities, these jinns. Why? Because he had a little, how you say, a little ranch style, American style, you call it ranch, how you call it, yeah, where you have animals, where you have, where you're planting things. So he was alone. He wanted to find some workers. This guy was very clever because he knew certain secret codes within the Quran that shouldn't be used. He knew how to use them. He knew that reciting certain prayers in a continuous motion, he will evoke certain presences, and eventually he got to make a deal with them, and they were working for him at night in the fields, doing all the field work, and a lot of Americans say, wow, I would love to have that going on in my place, I could have a couple of these genies coming to work for me. But that means subjecting yourself to those entities. That guy had to sell his soul. More than that, he would be enslaved by those forces for the rest of his life. In fact, he had to continuously recite these prayers and then not recite it at certain times and whatever, otherwise he
It's obvious that the pyramid is extraterrestrial.
I left the military, we knew of 4 different groups. And out of those 4, one group looked exactly like we do. I mean exactly. So much so that they could sit next to you in an airplane or a restaurant or in a theater, and you would never know. I do believe that at least some of the groups, I have to bear in mind there are different groups with different agendas.
Can either believe it or they cannot believe it. I don't give 2 f***s, but I am telling you right now, that back there is not real.
What did you see on the base?
Soylent, yes.
Dead or alive?
Alive.
What were they doing? What did they want from us?
The aliens are there. It's a transfer of technology, basically. There's a trade of information and a trade of material things. I'll just give you one element that we give them. We give them boron. We give them boron. Mind process boron. And there's other things that they also trade. In addition to understanding the humans more, there is some trade on the human part of it, but I don't know what that is. I was not involved.
So is there a relationship between the US government and aliens?
There is a relation to, you call it the US, and you have to understand and maybe, I don't know if I've explained it before, but I think I have. You have the US government. The US government is only an interface. They really don't know what's going on, totally. As far as I understand it, there's only an interface with the CIA, but I call it a satellite government.
Are the aliens prisoners?
The aliens were not ever held as a prisoner. They could have left any time. What originally happened was they had 4 that was apparently accepted the fact that, we're here, we're going to do something with, the humans. And they were taken to New Mexico, to a facility in New Mexico, where they spent 9 months. This is from a saucer landing, or you could call it a saucer crash, that happened in outside of Kingman, Arizona. That was in about May of 1953.
It started increasing in the early 80s. The amount that they were doing is increased, and they use a lot of druidic holidays to do this, but they have other days too. They've mixed all of these satanic and what are called satanic holidays and druidic holidays, and in order to have these rituals, which ritual seems to be important to them, but they also use it in order to drink this blood. They seem to need more.
Have you any idea why it's increased since the 80s?
So there are changes going on in the earth. It seems they're not able to hold their shape like they once were able to, and people see them shapeshift more and more, and they need the blood to try and maintain it, to try and maintain their human form. I believe there's a time coming, because of what I've been told, when they are not going to bother having to hold that human shape as they had to before, and they want that time to come. It's almost upon